Adisa's trial of infinite knowledge. The air shivered, not with cold or heat, but with an utter lack of definition. Adisa drifted in an ocean of pure, unadulterated chaos. This was Azathoth, the blind idiot god, the demon sultan, the nuclear chaos at the center of the cosmos. No form, no thought, no intention. Only dissolution, only madness, only the unraveling of meaning itself. Yet, Adisa did not recoil. He had already touched the mind of Yog-Sothoth, the all-knowing, the cosmic gatekeeper whose existence was both pathway and imprisonment. He had absorbed knowledge not through mere observation, but by becoming it. And now, he stood before raw chaos itself. You do not fight Yog-Sothoth, the echoes of Dr. D whispered from the ether. You do not resist. You must become. This understanding had forged him into something more than mortal. He was no longer merely a witness to the great ones, he was testing himself against them. Yog-Sothoth had granted him the sight of infinity, Azathoth threatened to strip him of meaning, but beyond them lurked a far greater deception. Yod-Ibeth, the demiurge, the false god, the impostor ruler of blind obedience and ignorance, who bound human souls in shackles of worship without offering truth. This was not chaos. This was tyranny disguised as divinity. Adisa had come not just to challenge the unknowable horrors of Lovecraft's mythos, but to weaponize their knowledge against the true oppressor of mankind. He would tear through layers of cosmic comprehension, break the barriers that imprison thought, and wield the fire of liberation. Ambition does not reside in safety, Valerius's voice resounded like a war drum. The world rewards those who fear mediocrity more than failure. Adisa would not succumb to mediocrity. He would not kneel to the false order of Yod-Ibeth. He had dared to confront the universe itself, proving his soul's worthiness in trials of incomprehensible depth. 1. And when he returned, he would not be conqueror nor mere survivor. He would be liberator. Adisa's fracturing awakening. The universe does not give you truth. You must take it. You must force it to reveal itself. Valerius's words rang like an incantation, steadying Adisa against the chaos tearing at his mind. It wasn't just thoughts unraveling, it was his entire being. He felt himself splintering, his essence scattering across infinite dimensions, each fragment holding a truth too vast to fully grasp. Madness should have taken him, but it didn't. He understood. This wasn't destruction, it was transformation. Valerius had prepared him for this, the ruthless acquisition of knowledge through self-annihilation and reforging. His core, the dark spark within him, absorbed the flood of forbidden truth, not by mere comprehension, but by integration. He didn't just witness the structure of reality, he became a conduit for it. Yog-Sothoth's boundless knowledge, the infinite pathways between existence, passed through him, yet his mind did not shatter. He wielded sheer will as a weapon, forcing the universe to reveal itself. He was no longer just a seeker. He was the gate. He was the key. The war on mediocrity. 2. This was the crucible. To break here, to let the weight of infinite knowledge crush him, would mean surrendering to mediocrity, becoming just another shattered mind among those who lacked the strength to endure truth. Valerius's voice cut through the vast silence of Adisa's expanded awareness. The knowledge you possess is a double-edged blade. It offers power, yes, but also reveals the endless abyss of what you do not know. That realization, that terror, is the ultimate crucible. It is the fear of mediocrity, carved across the cosmos itself. Adisa understood. The fear wasn't of the unknown, it was of the known. The staggering vastness of his own insignificance pressed upon him, daring him to collapse under its weight. But his dark spark rejected that fate. Mediocrity was comfort, and comfort was death. Adisa would rise. The reckoning of truth. Adisa had survived horrors that should have shattered him. He had been twisted by shadows, accused, beaten, and ridiculed forces had conspired to erase his identity, to rewrite him as a villain in the very story he was meant to tell. Yet, like forged steel, every attempt to break him only honed his edge. The system does not grant justice, it protects itself, Valerius's voice whispered through the void. Truth is not given. It is taken. And the moment you stop demanding it, the world ensures you never see it again. Adisa understood. The entities he faced were not merely cosmic horrors. They mirrored the forces that had tried to silence him in life, those who twisted reality to protect their own weakness. 3. The illusion of guilt and the ego's trap. Guilt is not merely an emotional burden, it is the foundation of separation. It creates division where none exists, forcing the mind to believe it is detached from divine truth. But in heaven, there is no guilt. The kingdom is attained through atonement, which corrects all mistakes and restores alignment with creation. The atonement is not just an abstract concept, it is the force that reorients the soul, freeing it from the cycles of miscreation that lead to suffering. What is truly blessed cannot give rise to guilt, it must create joy. That joy is invulnerable to the ego, because peace, when whole, is unassailable. Guilt, however, is always disruptive. Anything that breeds fear serves the law of division. And since the ego is the symbol of separation, it also becomes the symbol of guilt. But here's the crucial insight: guilt is not just not of God. It is an attack on God and His children. It distorts truth, making the mind believe it is separate, alone, and unworthy. And while guilt is meaningless, the ego's belief in it is powerful. This belief, that one is separate from divine unity, is the very root of all suffering. It's like the parable of the blind man examining an elephant. Each touches a different part, the ear, the leg, the trunk, and each describes something separate, unaware they are all speaking of the same entity. Now imagine if one believed the leg had detached and was attacking the elephant, that would be pure absurdity. Yet this is the logic of the ego. It convinces the mind that it is disconnected, and that in this separation, it must defend itself, attack, blame, and suffer. The truth is, separation is impossible. The mind cannot be divided from God, just as the elephant's leg cannot exist apart from the whole. But unless one activates this understanding, unless one chooses atonement, the ego will continue its cycle, manufacturing fear, blame, and division. The way forward: not to fight guilt, but to transcend it. Atonement corrects all perception, returning the mind to truth. And in truth, there is no guilt or only creation, only peace, only the joy of being whole. 4. Guilt should have consumed them, but instead, they had cloaked themselves in false virtue, casting blame upon others. But Adisa refused their rewritten history. He refused their lies. He did not fight for vengeance, he fought to restore truth. To cover the space the universe had tried to deny him. They tried to take everything, Valerius continued. But you remained. And in the end, you did not just survive. You completed the work. The work. The battle. The war against erasure. And now, standing in the void, facing gods who sought to test his mind, Adisa knew this was not about submission. It was about proving, not just to them, but to the cosmos itself, that he was worthy. They would not erase him. Adisa felt the chill of it, the profound truth. The fear of mediocrity wasn't about conventional failure, it was far worse. It was about the failure to live up to his own terrifying potential. It was the failure to wield the dark spark that now burned fiercely at his core, the failure to step into the unknown, the failure to prove himself before the cosmos. To shrink back from the ultimate test. To take the safe path when the universe demanded everything. Valerius's voice struck like a hammer, forging a new resolve within him. 5. Ambition does not reside in safety. The world rewards risk takers, the ones who fear mediocrity more than they fear failure. Every great achievement, every monumental act of creation comes from the refusal to settle. Those who are inspired by the fear of mediocrity do not hesitate. They rise. They climb. They conquer. Driven by the need to be extraordinary in a world content with average. This was the final piece of the puzzle. The terror from Azathoth wasn't just information, it was fuel. And as for your debate, blind, ignorant, and hollow, he was nothing but an imposter god. A false ruler over a reality built on deception. An idiot trying to dictate truth. Adisa would not bow. He would use the knowledge, the fear, the fire, turning terror into mastery. And when the dust settled, mediocrity would have no claim on him. The edge of ambition. Embrace the fear of mediocrity, Valeria said, his form fading as the realm of thought shimmered around Adisa. Let it push you beyond every limit, every barrier, toward heights you once thought impossible. Fear it enough, and it will become your ally. The truly ambitious are haunted by mediocrity. They feel its breath at their backs, its shadow at their heels. That fear drives them forward, faster, harder, further than logic dictates. Fear becomes their compass, guiding them toward the greatness mediocrity seeks to steal. Fear mediocrity enough, and it will never catch you. Mediocrity is blind, it sees only itself and calls it the pinnacle. 6. As Valeria's presence dissolved, the shimmering realm collapsed, pulling Adisa back toward a confrontation far more terrifying than infinite knowledge. The air did not move. It did not shift. It simply ceased to exist, leaving Adisa untethered, drifting in a void of raw dissolution. This was Azathoth, the blind idiot god, the demon sultan, the nuclear chaos at the center of all creation. No form, no thought, no intention, only madness, only the unraveling of meaning itself. The trial of unmaking. Valeria's training had led to this moment, to confront raw, unfiltered reality in all its brutal glory. To embrace what was necessary. To use the dark spark to destroy illusion, even the illusion of his own existence. You do not fight Azathoth. You do not resist. You must endure. The words of Alhazard, the mad Arab, echoed through the void. And Adisa felt it, the unraveling. His consciousness, once expanded by Yog-Sothoth, now began to dissolve. His memories, his identity, his very essence as Adisa. It scattered, breaking into fragments so small they barely existed. This was not death, not destruction, but dissolution. Ceasing to be. The ultimate mediocrity was not failure, it was annihilation. To become a nameless speck in the primordial chaos, stripped of all distinction. But in that abyss, in that surrender to nothingness, he found strength. 7. The dark spark, forged through Valeria's ruthless teachings and now sharpened by the fear of mediocrity, refused to be extinguished. It did not fight the dissolution, it endured it. It became the silence within the scream, the stillness within chaos. Adisa did not break because he had learned to see meaning in meaninglessness, to find order within disorder. His inner eye, honed by Valeria's brutal pragmatism, now perceived the terrifying structure beneath even chaos itself. He was not gone. He was evolving. The anomaly in chaos. The echoes of Valeria's words, now infused with the raw, maddening reality of Azathoth's primal chaos, resonated within Adisa's dissolving consciousness. Fear it enough, and it becomes your ally. The truly ambitious are haunted by mediocrity. They feel its breath at their backs, its shadow at their heels. That fear drives them forward, faster, harder, beyond limits they once thought impossible. Fear becomes their compass, guiding them toward the greatness that mediocrity seeks to steal. Fear mediocrity enough, and it will never catch you. Mediocrity is blind, it looks only at itself and calls it the pinnacle of idiots. Adisa didn't merely endure Azathoth, he integrated it. The unmaking was not his end. It was his reforging. By embracing non-existence, he transcended the need for existence. By surrendering to oblivion, he became unbound. By dissolving into the primordial chaos, he did what no mortal mind had ever done. He became an anomaly within the heart of disorder. Extraordinary in the face of annihilation. 8. This was no survivor. This was mastery. The reckoning of the unforgiving law. Adisa Ogunwell had lived in London, but he had survived it, trapped behind what some called enemy lines, navigating a world that judged him not for his actions, but for his existence. Discrimination, projection, fear, none of it belonged to him, yet all of it had been forced upon him. Their guilt was theirs to bear. Their fear was theirs to confess. And now, as the final confrontation loomed, there would be no escaping judgment. Either they would acknowledge their transgressions, seek atonement, and break the cycle, or they would be consumed by their own deception. Through the void, Metamon emerged not as an observer, but as the executioner of knowledge's law. 9. The unforgiving law of knowledge. Seek without respect, and you shall be consumed by what you uncover. Attempt to wield wisdom without balance, and it will turn against you. Those who approach knowledge with arrogance will find themselves servants to it rather than masters. Metamon was no longer passive. He had become the final test, the force that determined whether one would rise or perish beneath the weight of the truth. He was neither savior nor destroyer. He was the gatekeeper, ensuring that humanity's evolution would be dictated not by greed, but by understanding. And for those who sought to wield knowledge without honor, there would be no mercy. The guardian holder ascends. Adisa Ogunwale emerged from the heart of Azathoth, not merely alive, but terrifyingly transformed. He was no longer just a man, he was a vessel forged in cosmic truth and tempered in the abyss of primordial chaos. The dark spark, once a whisper of potential, had become an inferno of sheer will, burning away every illusion, every limitation. He had integrated the fear of mediocrity, wielding it not as a burden, but as a weapon, a force that propelled him beyond mortality's grasp. Each trial had carved him into something more. Nyarlathotep had taught him to pierce external illusions. Yog-Sothoth had granted absolute truth and internal expansion. Azathoth had taught him the brutal lesson of enduring non-existence itself. But it was Lord Valerius's ruthless doctrine, the refinement of his inner eye, the embrace of his dark spark, that had sealed his transformation. Adisa had not just survived these cosmic horrors, he had transcended them. 10. Now, armed with sharpened perception and an unbreakable will, only one question remained: what further horrors, what ultimate revelations, what final confrontations awaited the guardian holder on this relentless path? Because for Adisa, the battle was never just against the old ones. It was against the ultimate mediocrity of oblivion itself. And that he was now terrifyingly equipped to win. 11. Page 11 of 11.